Good afternoon, it's Scotty Bones, and today we're going to talk about Mexican coffee. Yesterday, the title of the video, Bitcoin and Guacamole, that was clickbait, but the truth about Mexican coffee, not clickbait. The truth about Mexican coffee is that it's very awesome, and you should go buy some right now. First, I want to show you what a coffee plant looks like. This one here is small, so it's probably a baby. On coffee farms, they can grow to be 12, 15 feet tall sometimes. So here, let's take a look at this coffee plant. It's about 2.5, 3 feet tall. You can see the leaves. Here's a freshie, new leaf, beautiful. Here's some coffee cherries. These are the fruits. Inside each one of these are 2 seeds, which we call coffee beans. These aren't ripe yet. When they are ripe, they will turn a nice bright red color. When I say go get yourself some Mexican coffee, I'm talking about specialty coffee. Specialty coffee is graded on a scale from 0 to 100. When I say to go out and get some Mexican coffee, I'm talking about specialty coffee. Specialty coffee is graded on a scale from 0 to 100, and it is anything that scores above 80. The scoring has to do with the amount of defects that are in the coffee in the lot, and it has a lot to do with when and how the coffee is harvested. Coffee ripens successively over a long period of time. In a lot of commercial farms, they can't afford to have people or machinery go through and pick 6, 8, 10 times during the season, so they harvest all at once, and they get a range of very unripe coffee all the way through to overripe coffee. With specialty coffee, which is generally done by smaller farms, not always, but generally they're smaller farms where they can dedicate their labor to going through their coffee patch and picking only the ripe coffee each time they go through. So it's optimally picked for the proper sugar content in the pulp that surrounds the seeds. This has a huge effect on the flavor of the coffee. They also take a greater care in processing the coffee and drying it. There are roughly 3 grades of coffee, 3 processing styles, I would say. One is called washed, lavado. One is called natural, natural. And one is called honey, or semi-lavado, half-washed. I'm not going to get into the nuances of all those, but generally the washed coffee has a milder flavor because the fruit and the skin has been separated from the coffee seeds before they are dried. And natural is when the coffee is dried with the fruit completely intact. And that imparts a very interesting and delicious flavor to it. Once it's dried completely, then it's processed and the fruit is taken off and the coffee seeds are then ready to roast. The half-washed is when the skin is removed from the fruit and then the seeds are dried with the pulp on the seeds. Then after they're dried, later on, they will be processed to remove the pulp and the husk. There's a skin on the seeds and that gets removed. And that has a flavor that is somewhere in between washed, which is super mild, natural, which has got a very interesting fruity type flavor, sometimes like a little fermenty, dried fruit kind of flavor, and the honeys or semi-washed are in the middle. Generally speaking, there are 4 states in Mexico where the majority of the coffee is grown. Chiapas in the south and Oaxaca are where the majority of the specialty coffee comes from. Also, Veracruz and Puebla states have a very large production. And then several other states have a much smaller production, such as Guerrero, San Luis Potosí, Hidalgo, Nayarit, Colima, even the state of Mexico, which surrounds and is to the south of Mexico City, also produces coffee. I'm sure I missed a couple in there, and I apologize to you, wonderful states who also produce coffee. In the United States, if you look in specialty coffee shops, you can often find specialty coffee, or if you're really interested in it, you can go online and look for Mexican coffee. If you want to get a standard sort of slightly chocolatey, milder coffee, You can go for the washed coffees of Oaxaca and Chiapas. If you're interested in a really delicious and unique coffee, try to find yourself a natural from Guerrero or even from Puebla. Veracruz has some very awesome coffee, and it's slightly more acidic, so they have more of a little citrusy, they say acidy, but it's not like acid like vinegar, it's just slightly more bright flavors in the mouth. Hidalgo has some great coffees that I've had, and also Nayarit is pumping out some really good coffees. I'll be going to Nayarit in a couple of days, and I hope to try some coffee from there. Again, the naturals from Nayarit are also very excellent, so go out there and try to find yourself some Mexican coffee and just start getting used to what flavors the coffees from different states have to offer. Go out there and get yourself some Mexican coffee. It's up and coming, but still in the United States, I think people just aren't aware of how awesome Mexican specialty coffee is. Thank you, and good afternoon. I'll be walking down into the center of town today, and I'll walk by a couple of the coffee shops and show you what they look like, and if they're open we can go inside. There's Popo, and a rare day when you can see his counterpart, Itzacoatl, and she is known as the sleeping woman, La Mujer Dormida, the wife or girlfriend of Popo.
Hoy, gran función, 7:30 de la noche. Sorpréndete con una de las mejores trapecistas en México. Malabaristas impresionantes.
Looks like the circus is coming to town. The cool thing about that advertisement is that it advertises one of the best trapeze artists in Mexico. Makes you wonder how many trapeze artists are actually in Mexico. Here's a little tidbit. I'm on the edge of this neighborhood called Ahuehuete. Ahuehuete is a tree, and when you see that type of tree, there's always water, usually a spring, often bubbling up from the roots of the Ahuehuete tree. The neighborhood Ahuehuete is down in that direction, and there is a gigantic Ahuehuete tree. They used to have a spring, but now that the city has grown, there is no longer a spring. Right behind this cross, those two arches are bricked in now. They used to be fountains that had artesian water flowing from further up the hill. I'm headed down in this direction to the city, to the coffee shops.
Llega sin nada.
Sí, no. Su cumpleaños el día 18.
No, pues sí tienes que llegar con algo.
Hacer preguntas.
Eres un maldito chapulín.